It was an ordinary winter night in upstate New York. Snow drifted quietly across the streets of Buffalo, and inside warm homes, people were settling in for the evening. In the small suburban community of Clarence Center, nothing felt unusual. No alarms, no warnings, no signs that within minutes a commercial airplane would fall from the sky and leave 50 people dead. This was not a disaster caused by violent weather or mechanical failure. It was a tragedy born from exhaustion, confusion, and a system that failed the people it was meant to protect. On February 12, 2009, Colgan Air Flight 3407 departed Newark Liberty International Airport, scheduled for a short evening flight to Buffalo Niagara International Airport. The aircraft was a Bombardier Q400, a turboprop widely used on regional routes across the United States. It was considered reliable, modern, and fully capable of handling winter conditions. 45 passengers were seated inside, along with a captain, a first officer, and 2 flight attendants. To the people on board, this felt like any other routine flight home. The weather in Buffalo that night was cold, but manageable. Light snow fell under overcast skies, and temperatures were below freezing. Ice accumulation was expected, but the aircraft was certified to fly in such conditions. Its de-icing systems were active and functioning normally. From a technical standpoint, nothing about this flight suggested danger. But inside the cockpit, unseen risks were already present. The captain, Marvin Renslow, was 47 years old and had years of flying experience, but relatively limited time on the Q400. The first officer, Rebecca Shaw, was just 24 and early in her aviation career. Both pilots were suffering from severe fatigue. The captain had commuted long distances and slept poorly the night before. The first officer had traveled overnight from the West Coast to reach her assignment, spending little time resting before reporting to duty. At the time, such schedules were legal, even though fatigue is known to impair judgment in ways similar to alcohol. As the aircraft cruised toward Buffalo, the cockpit atmosphere remained casual. The pilots discussed icing conditions and other routine topics, unaware of how compromised their alertness had become. Fatigue narrows attention, delays reactions, and makes it harder to process unexpected events. That vulnerability would soon prove fatal. As Flight 3407 began its final descent, ice started forming on the wings. The de-icing system removed much of it, but small amounts of ice can still alter how an aircraft feels and responds. The plane slowed as it prepared for landing. Then, at just over 2,000 feet above the ground, the aircraft's stick shaker activated. This was a critical moment. The stick shaker is designed to be unmistakable. It physically shakes the control column, warning pilots that the aircraft is approaching an aerodynamic stall. Pilots are trained repeatedly to respond instantly by pushing the nose down, increasing airspeed, and stabilizing the aircraft. These steps are meant to be automatic. But confusion took over. The captain reacted instinctively, pulling back on the controls instead of pushing forward. This single mistake worsened the situation immediately. The aircraft slowed further, lift decreased, and the wings could no longer support the plane. The stall deepened. At the same time, the captain made improper power and flaps adjustments, further destabilizing the aircraft. The first officer, overwhelmed and inexperienced, failed to recognize the error or challenge the captain's actions. The aircraft rolled sharply to the left, then pitched downward. Alarms sounded. The cockpit filled with tension and confusion. There was no coordinated recovery attempt, no clear command, no time. From the moment the stick shaker activated to the moment of impact, less than 30 seconds passed. At 10:17 p.m., Colgan Air Flight 3407 crashed into a residential house in Clarence Center, New York.
The aircraft was destroyed instantly. All 49 people on board were killed, along with one person inside the home. The quiet neighborhood erupted in flames and smoke, the winter night lit by fire and confusion. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but there was nothing they could do. The wreckage burned in the snow. Families waited for news that would never bring relief. In the days that followed, investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board began piecing together what happened. Data from the flight recorders told a clear story. The aircraft had been functioning normally. The de-icing system worked. The engines produced power. The weather, while challenging, was not extreme. The cause was human error. But the deeper cause ran far beyond the cockpit. The investigation revealed a troubling pattern within the regional airline industry at the time. Low pay forced pilots to commute long distances and sacrifice rest. Training programs were inconsistent. Experience requirements were minimal. Fatigue management was largely ignored. The system placed pilots in high-pressure environments without giving them the tools and rest needed to perform safely. Cockpit voice recordings exposed confusion during critical moments and a lack of effective communication between the pilots. The captain had previously failed training evaluations. The first officer earned so little she relied on sleeping in crew rooms and airports. These were not isolated issues. They were symptoms of a larger problem. Families of the victims demanded accountability. They testified before Congress, sharing painful stories of lives cut short. Parents, spouses, and children made one thing clear: this crash was preventable. Their voices led to change. New regulations increased minimum flight experience requirements for airline pilots. Training standards were strengthened, especially for stall recognition and recovery. Fatigue rules were rewritten to ensure pilots received proper rest. Airlines were forced to rethink how they scheduled, trained, and supported their crews. These changes became known as the Colgan Air Rule, and they reshaped American aviation. Today, every regional flight that lands safely in winter weather carries the lessons of Flight 3407. Every pilot trained to recognize and recover from a stall. Every crew member protected by stricter fatigue rules. Every passenger who reaches home safely. 50 lives were lost on a cold February night near Buffalo. But because of them, countless others have been saved. And that is why this story still matters.